Hey, you ever been to Chancellor Park? That's where I live. My name is Tavin Dillard, and I live in a trailer park called Chancellor Park, and I mow lawns. I'd like to introduce you to my town. I've been making YouTube's videos since about 2006, and then I've transitioned over to other platforms like the TikToks and the whatnot. But here on this podcast, I'd like to clue you into what's going on with me here lately. And this is like the pre-introduction. Now I'm going to send it off to myself for the real introduction. I'm glad you joined me. Bink, bink.
Welcome to the Tavin Dillard Podcast, y'all guys. Season 3's episode 14's. My name, Tavin Dillard. I'm mow lawns. I live in Chancellor Park. And I want to say from the get-go, if this is your first time listening, feel free to go back to episode 1 of this season and catch up with us. We'll be here, but we up against it, y'all guys. This is the very end of season 3's. Like next week is the Q&A, and I'll talk about that in just a little bit, but there's been a lot going on right now. We're right in the middle of softball season. Actually, not even halfway yet through it this summer. I did some slip and slide this past week. More on that in a little bit too, but I got back to the trailer park from being on the road, and I've been in, Yukon, Oklahoma. I talked about that last week on the podcast. Newkirk, Oklahoma, and Conway, Arkansas. I had already done them 3 shows, by the time last week's podcast came out. And, like Saturday is when Early Bird gets the perm shirts, finally hatched, or them birds landed, kind of thing. And then in Hardy, now, I ain't talked about that show on Wednesday night at the Hardy Junction Music Hall in Hardy, Arkansas. It's good. We had a lot of folk come out. We had a hoot of a time together, and now there's been a couple shows where folks seen Early Bird Gets the Perm, and now folks on the interweb, on the onlines, have been getting a hold of that shirt. It was highly anticipated. It is a highly anticipated shirt because there's been a lot going on with Early Bird Gets the Perm this year, and we was hoping to have them shirts. I drawed the logo for it and everything. Back in the springtime. We was hoping it'd land around Mother's Day, but that's just how the cookie crumbled, so to speak, or how the bird hatched. And the Early Bird Gets the Perm, shirt. It's in the show notes today. You'll see that there. But the big news of the hour is that next week is the very last episode of season 3's. It's when we say goodbye, season 3's. Now, at the end of season 2's, if you've been a part of this for a while, you know that there was a little bit of debate going on. Is this it? 2 seasons of the Tavin Dillard podcast. We gonna call it. But I really thought I liked doing it, and it just seemed like there's maybe little momentum season 3's. Well, I had no idea that the audience would double more than double, if my math's right, during season 3. In the last month or so, things kind of took off. Specifically on the Instagrams is where a lot of that traffic came from, where new folks found out what I was doing, kind of thing. So that's how that goes. So anyways, there ain't no suspense is there going to be a season 4. The plan is, as much as I can, control nothing in this world, the plan is to start season 4's in 2 weeks. So that means we got today's, which is episode 14, and then next week is episode 15, which is the question and answer episode where y'all are providing the content to what's going on in that show. And then that next week, we kicking off season 4. Now, a big part of this, we in the middle of softball season. So I can't, not keep covering what's going on this season. And truth be told, I feel like we clicking on cylinders like we ain't never done before. There's some good games ahead of us, kind of thing. Now, I'll let you know how this week's went in a little bit, but we ain't there yet. So let's talk about this. Where have we been this season of the podcast? Season 3's. Now, I don't know what you know about podcasts, but it's like a radio show. So it's for your ears. It's what you listen to. And I do want to say, I floated it out a few weeks ago about to my podcast listeners. I ain't floated it out to nobody else because I said at the time, and I still kind of stand by this, that who wants a Tavin Dillard podcast shirt except folks that listen to the Tavin Dillard podcast? So I just asked y'all guys. So the only people I'm getting feedback from is folks that heard me ask on the podcast. And it seems like folks be interested in that. So I'm going to have a design put together soon, and I'll text, if you text me, in fact, do that this week, say, can you text me the design, and hopefully I'll have it done in the next few days. I got it in my head, but I got to get it out of my head. It'll probably be the logo, that my little face there that you see on the Tavin Dillard podcast. and there'll be the name of the podcast. And maybe in parentheticals, underneath it says, it's like a radio show. Something like that. It's pretty simple, but it promote the podcast. It celebrate the podcast, but ain't got no wild drawing on it. And I ain't got nothing against wild drawings. I mean, I got a fully mature peacock with a squirrel in a headlock on his shirt because I drawed that. And there's a lot going on. It's an action shirt. And it's good for athletics. It's good for baby showers. It's good for ribbon cuttings at new businesses that are opening. It's good for softball games. I mean, these shirts are good for all kinds of things. You can have a turkey and a peacock, or not a turkey. I do have turkey salmon shirts. I was going to get to that, but squirrel and a headlock softball team for all I care. If you get enough of them jerseys together. I wear Burger Shed. That's my team. We're doing pretty good. Early Bird gets the perm. That's another picture I drawed. But all I'm saying is, and the turkey salmon, I drawed that too. And I do have a new turkey salmon cannonball that I'm working on. The best of both worlds. I mean, you can be cannonballing in a lake, a river, city pool, wherever you, above ground pool. I don't know where you cannonball that, but you could also be calling turkey salmons. I mean, it's like a 2-for-1. So that's a beautiful thing, and a story for a different minute, I guess. But all I'm saying is that this one, I think it's going to be pretty easy, simple, not too wild design. But then I'll put it out there to y'all that text me or email and say, hey, can I see that? I'll send it to you, and then you can say, I'd wear that, or maybe go back to squares one on that, Tavin. Maybe do that if you expect me to want to wear something. Don't give me that. Whatever y'all want to say about it. But anyhow, where we been on the podcast, that's what I was getting at. But I just thought that I wanted to say, hey, I didn't forget about the podcast t-shirt. I just ain't got to. I've been on the road, and I've been seeing a lot of folks. I gave out high fives. I'm a man of my word. Folks at the shows wanted high fives, and I gave them out gladly. And hopefully, mostly on the Instagrams, is where I posted pictures in my stories of how the tour went. And so anyways, you can see all that there. But where have we been this season? Okay, that's stuff. But where have we been with the podcast? Let's take a little trip down memory lane before we get into something that happened in the trailer park. It's pretty exciting this week, and also our most recent game for Team Burger Shed. Where'd I begin? Okay, well, at the beginning, I guess, is where I start. Okay, firstly, Early Bird gets the perm, got a facelift. This spring, you probably remember that. That's where Meemaw gets her hair did. And there's a fire inside Early Bird Gets the Perm just a couple weeks back. You can just ask Cheryl Grubbs about that. She was there. Remember that? Cheryl sure do. Macrame tissue box. There was a fishing tournament. Remember that? I've been learning. Y'all might not know, but I got a couple buddies who are Bass pros, and I was ready to put my skills to the tournament test. Like, I learned from them. I take notes. I watch. I observe with my eyes. I just go watch. I'm like, bink, bink. Okay, now I know how to catch fish now, kind of thing. So, y'all remember that, about that fishing tournament in town? I ain't going to tell you how that turned out. And if you ain't listened to that, I ain't going to ruin it for you, but I will say it did not go how I planned. Did not. Of course, softball season started, and we 6 games in now, and so I've been covering that this season of the podcast. How did Game 6 go, Tavin? Well, stay tuned. I got an update here shortly about that. So let's get to this pool party in town. I think that basically brings you up to speed where we at. I mean, Dewey Morton built a rabbit trap, in last week's episode. So it's been a week and a half ago or so since he did that at the nursing home. And I'm under a ping pong table hiding from, I guess, a rabbit and my girlfriend Cricket, who was looking for Dewey Morton. And the whole thing, well, you can go back and listen to that one if you ain't listened to that. But that does pretty much bring us up to where we at today. And I just want to say before I get into what happened at Chancellor Park this week that I really appreciate y'all taking the time to listen to this. I don't know if you listened to it right when it come out on a Tuesday or later. I will say I have been doing these podcast quizzes every Friday. So they come out on Tuesday, and by Fridays, if you had a chance to listen to them, you can take the quiz and just see how you did. Just some questions about the podcast if you listened or not. Kind of fun to do. We ain't handing out prizes or giving out grades or nothing like that. It's just fun to do. But thank y'all for. I've been getting messages on Instagram. Folks been texting me, getting emails about just appreciating my videos and all that stuff, and enjoying the podcast, and leaving them comments on on iTunes or wherever you listen. Now, I looked at what they call the analyticals on the podcast, like, because it tells you like where folks listen. So the Apple Podcast, which is on the iTunes, or the Spotify's, that's the two main places folks listen. Then there's Google Podcast, I think it's called. Something called Castbox, and then other, and I don't know how many, what other is, but you may be under one of them. So folks is listening to all kinds of different things. Wherever you listen to, if you leave a comment or write, that helps me. I appreciate all that feedback. That's what I've been saying. It's been good to be able to know what folks is thinking about what's going on and what I've been doing. But here we are today. JT Whitlow this week wanted to have a poo party. Now, he wanted to have a poo party in Chancellor Park. That's the trailer park we live in. JT's my neighbor across the way. Only thing is, we ain't got a poo at Chancellor Park. So when I heard JT say we was having a trailer park poo party, I was a bit confused, as you can imagine, because one thing that's in the name of the title of the party is the word poo, swimming pool. Like you got a place where you swim. Now, we ain't got that, so then I'm thinking in my head, I don't know. It's like saying, hey, we having a roller skating party, and you get there, and there ain't no place to roller skate, and they ain't got no roller skates for you, and it's like you really should just call it a party. Kind of thing. So if you're saying, hey, we having a bird party, and you think, well, am I bringing a bird? Am I dressing like a bird? Do I wear a t-shirt with a bird on it, kind of thing? Like, what's that mean? You get there and ain't nothing to have to do with birds. You should just let bird out the title. So JT's over here, and he got a poo party in the name of our trailer park poo party, and I'm just so confused. I don't know how that works. I mean, that math don't add up, kind of thing. Well, and here's the deal. We do have a kiddie poo at the trailer park. But that's just for soaking your feet or trying to land dismounts from a zip line. That ain't for like swimming in. And I just knew that kiddie pool wouldn't really make for a poo party. What he should have said was like a water party. Because, we got water there. We can turn on the hose, a sprinkler, spray people. You got the kiddie pool to soak your feet in, but this ain't a swimming pool party. I just don't think he named it the right thing. Because he had a tarp and a couple of beds of pickup trucks where you put the tarp in there and you fill that up and you kind of soak in that, but still even dim. They more be like the size of a hot tub, but they cold water in there where you soak and cool down in the hot sun, but you ain't swimming in them. One of the pickup trucks was his girlfriend Whitney, and the other truck was Rance Farnhart's. Now, Rance, he don't live in our trailer park, but he's our buddy. And other than the beds of them two trucks and the kiddie poo, JT set up a slip and slide. But he had to bring in some dirt because we mostly gravel at Chancellor Park. And slipping and sliding on gravel, that ain't no kind of fun. I mean, you just think about that. There's little bitty rocks, some bigger rocks, different sizes rocks, different shapes, some pretty sharp, some maybe a little more rounded. But the thing about it is, the only thing between chest-naked you and them rocks is a thin piece of plastic. So that ain't gonna work. You might do a slip and slide once on gravel, but you ain't doing it twice. You might do it once on gravel, but you ain't doing it twice. So JT's really heading this thing up. He got a stereo system with some speakers that he got at Jerry Down and Sybil Farnhart's flea market, and off we went. Now me, I've been getting some serious water time this summer at the city pool, and I've been wearing more tank tops on so them shoulders of mine can see the sun. And you can check out all my tank tops at the link in my show notes. I mentioned Early Bird Gets the Perm earlier. You know what I'll just do? It'll just be a link that'll take you to all them shirts, and then you can kind of take a gander at them all as you. And my hats. Check out that new No Pro hat. Sold them on the tour too. So check that out in the show notes as far as the outerwear. And while you're there, checking out them shirts at the show notes, check out that Bee House Honey. You heard about it. I appreciate them. Sponsor season 3 of the Tab and Dillard podcast. Now, it's enough about hearing about them. Now go get you some. Let me know what you think. And if you already got some of Tabby's Honey from Bees, please holler at me. Let me know what you think. One of the best ways to let me know on the public forum is wherever you leave a comment about the podcast. Like, hey, good podcast, but also I got some of that honey from bees, and this is what I think about it. And you can tell me like that way. You can also text me, email me. You got my phone number and my email there in the show notes. So there's so much fun to check out in them show notes today. Please take the time to do that. Now, about this pool party, it was in our trailer park, but not just for our trailer park. Whoever heard about it decided to show up. Cody Mantell, he showed up. Now, he's mean. You know it. I know it. His wife, Lindy Ray, you might recall, was working the front desk and the fire extinguisher the day of the old tissue box fire inside Early Bird Gets the Perm. So Cody and Lindy Ray and their daughter Daphne were all down there ready to swim. All Cody had on was a pair of cutoff jean shorts. That's really all you need at a pool party, really. I mean, think about that. Unless you need your flip-flops on or a pair of boots or something because your feet ain't good on gravel, but Cody basically got leather feet bottoms just built in, over the years, so he can walk on that gravel, nobody's business, and it don't bother him none. Now, like I said, JT Whitlow, who is basically throwing this party, he's dating Whitney, and that's Cody's cousin. That's Cody Mantell's cousin. And Cody really wanted to hear more Nickelback blasting through those speakers that JT had picked up at Jerry Don and Silver Farm Hearts Flea Market, and JT wasn't really having that. He wanted to stick with more John Cougar Mellencamp, and they almost went to blows on that. And that's to be expected when Cody Mantell show up to your party. The zipline kind of worked for a while. It's never great. I mean, not yet. We're working on it. We're going to get there, I think. And little kids, they had fun, but the zipline just ain't holding full-grown adults. Yet. But we going to get there. The slip and slide was all time, though. Myron Curtis, he's at the party. And he's in his little swim trucks, and he ran toward that slip and slide because he's seen it. But you know how you see something, you like it, and you just respond out of pure emotion, and you just do the thing? Well, Myron start running toward that slip and slide, and JT holler at him, "It ain't wet yet," kind of thing. Now, slip and slide without water, it ain't a slip or a slide. You can't do nothing except what Myron Curtis did, which is about rip off one of his nipples. Like Myron ain't been in the water yet, so he's all dry, and JT ain't got the hose going on the slip and slide. So Myron had to sit up in a lawn chair for a bit and catch his breath. His chest was all red. Didn't look as bad as when I stole first base chest naked at the softball fields, but it's pretty close. It's pretty close. Took the wind at him, and then it's just going to hurt for a while. It's going to sting. JT got that hose going on the slip and slide, and you remember what we put under that tarp so the slip and slide wouldn't be on just gravel? That's right. We put dirt down there. And you know what happens when water mixes with dirt? That's right. Mud was squishing out from under that slip and slide like Mort's belly in that tiny jersey he wore to the fields last week when he had lost his usual uniform shirt at the old water park. Danny's Water Park, to be exact. They got good cheese dip nachos down there. Anyhow, the fun really started once JT soaked that slip and slide. Folks was zipping through there, muddy and all. Now, if you know anything about slip and slides, you gotta know that it can be hard to stop. I mean, you gotta either run out of slide or hit something that stops you. So JT tossed a beanbag at the end of the slip and slide. Now, I ain't talking about a little bean bag that you toss, about the size of a baseball that you throw it at like a cornhole game or nothing. I'm talking about one of them bean bag chairs, just a big giant thing that you sit on in your living room. Well, he put that at the end of the slip and slide. It was gross, y'all guys. Like it was already a nasty looking bean bag. Now you got muddy folks slamming into it head first, shoulder first, hand first, depending on your particular slip and slide approach, you're going to hit it with something. Now, Cricket, that's my girlfriend. She showed up halfway through the party. She got off her job at the nursing home. She'd been working a lot between that and delivering produce for the burger shed, and I thought she'd just watch. Nope. Apparently, she's a water baby. She was on that slip and slide like a squirrel on a hot fry. I mean, so fast. She was moving down that slip and slide. My brother, Brett, he somehow got wind of the party, and he wheeled in a barbecue. I have no idea where he got that barbecue from. Said he traded it somebody something for it. I don't know what to who, but anyways, he fired it up, and him and Cody Mantell, of all people, decided to work together and cook up a bunch of meat. Burgers, dogs, that kind of thing. And two guys most likely to fight, my brother Brett and Cody Mantell, actually got along while barbecuing at the Chancellor Park pool party thrown by JT Whitlow, where there ain't really even a swimming pool at all. It was a good party. No fights, but you got to know that none of us is on a steady regimen of exercise. So what does that mean for Team Burger Shed at the fields this week? It means we was sore, y'all guys. I mean, so sore. And a little sunburnt too. I mean, you got to remember to put on that sunscreen. My shoulders, they seen quite a bit of sun this summer. Now, you looking at them, you think, nah, Tavin, I don't know about that. I'm telling you, I get some sun. And if you'd seen me, February, March, you'd know, but I just ain't a guy that tan easily. I burn, I peel, repeat. So let me just recount the slip and sliders that was at this party that ain't going to be feeling top notch, 100% after this big old pool day, which is really a water day. There was me, I'm Tavin Dillard, and then Mort Dwidell was there, Myron Curtis, Rance Farnhart, JT Whitlow. We was all beat up from the slip and slide. No excuses. I ain't making no excuses here about how we felt. These just facts. That leaves Donnie Wayne Chambliss, Ricky Don Pearson, Russell Tucker, and Rusty Tidwell, who were not sore. Now, Rusty Tidwell, he actually did come to the party, but he sat in the tarp pool that was in the bed of a pickup truck, and he just cooled off and ate barbecue. So he took it easy, you know. Rusty's that kind of guy. He just laid back, you know. He'll watch the fun, but he ain't going to get crazy. And he saved himself for the softball game because he was ready to go. Well, fast forward to our game, and we was moving gingerly, you might say. Not bad. I mean, we full-grown men, so we going to get it done. I mean, we're going to try to get it done. And Rusty Tidwell, I'll just say this, he had an all-star night. 3 doubles. He saved about 4 runs over there at the hot corner. That's why they call that the third base, the hot corner. Not because the sun's out, just because a lot of balls get hit real fast over there, and you got to be ready. I mean, when it's hot outside, it's like, hot, sweaty, humid, like baked beans in a wool sock. Like, I do not like this, ain't comfortable kind of thing. But that's not what I was talking about. It was a warm day, but Rusty Tidwell is at the hot corner, and he's saving runs. And like I was saying, he saved about 4 of them runs. So in the end, though, let me just fast forward, y'all guys. It was a solid, we scored 9, and then we played Brunwell Tires. That's Lonnie Brunwell. He kind of run the team, but his daddy owns Brunwell Tires. He worked for him. And they scored 9 too. That's what we call a tie. Like at the end of the game, they got a 9-9 situation between us all. It would have been nice to beat them, but at least we didn't lose to them. And that puts Team Burger Shed at 3 wins, at 1 loss, at 2 ties this season. Not bad. We still in it. Ain't nothing getting away from us yet. But speaking of getting away, we about to get away from Season 3 of the Tab and Dillard Podcast after next week. And I told y'all guys at the beginning, you know what the plan is. That means next week is the 15th. And the final episode of Season 3's, and that'll be the Q&A episode. Now, the Q stand for questions, and the A stand for answers. Now, what I do on the Q&A episode is I do the answers. I provide the answers. But the only way I can answer something is if somebody asks a question. Now, folks have been sending them in this week. I got emails. I've been getting texts. I'm trying to keep them organized so that I don't miss nobody. So I ain't trying to miss nobody's questions on purpose. So that's the first is how that go. And then secondly, if folks ask like the same question, then I probably make it into one, I just answer it one time, because that just makes sense. That's how it is. If somebody said, Tavin, how many games did y'all guys win so far? And I say 3. And then someone says, Tavin, how many softball games did y'all win this season? And I say 3. And then someone else, I say 3. Folks would be like, he could have answered that one time and we would have got that kind of thing. So anyways, them questions are provided by you. And if you already sent in questions and you get another one you want to ask, send it in. I didn't put a limit on the questions. Now, if you send in 30, I might start kind of whittling it down a little bit. But if you got a new question that come to your mind and you want to ask it, then that's how that go. And then I'll organize them and I'll answer them. How about that? Now, the way if you listen before to these Q&As, you know just how that go. Like, I'll answer any questions you got for me. I answer them. Anything you got for the technical stuff, how the things get made. Like, I don't do video. I don't do that stuff. I just live my life and I tell what's going on in Chancellor Park and whatever kind of thing. So if you wonder technical film stuff, I was going to call it technical, but I think that's the combination of technical film. Then that might be for Joel Berry, who manages me, and then he may answer if you got questions like that. But that's how that's going to go. And we'll talk about, what's next for the podcast. Because I told you at the beginning, we're going to have Season 4. That's the plan. It's going to be a hoot. And so we looking forward to it. But we got to wrap up this episode to get to the Q&A episode, then get into episodes or Season 4, so the podcast is going to be. Are you grilling out this week, y'all guys? Are you grilling food? Are you getting outside? Are you manning the grill? Or, my brother got a barbecue grill he brought to the trailer park this week, at the old pool party. And then I wonder if you're grilling or it's too hot to get out there and you're just going to have some cold cuts inside, maybe cut a watermelon. Well, if you're cutting a watermelon, I want to tell you right now, I hope you make a helmet out of it. I've been trying to experiment a little bit. Now, if you've been watching my videos this last week, I did a helmet that I probably would never do again. It was one of those where you just get a little too, you get too carried away. Sometimes you need to stick to the basics. Like your standard Watermelon helmet, y'all know I got the 2-for-1 this year, where on the front it's just cut across the top, then you spin it around back, and it's got a little more eye protection to it, kind of look like a warrior's helmet. That's a good one. And then, of course, you know the snack helmet. Now, the snack helmet, it's practical and it's stylish. It's got a couple wins involved with it. And y'all been sending in your Watermelon helmet pictures, and I've been posting a lot of them on my stories on Instagrams, because it's good to see folks getting them done with a lot of style. They looking good. Well, I strayed from the formula this last week in a big way. You know them long watermelons? I mean, they just real long ways. Well, it was cut in half, because that's what you do when you get a watermelon. How else you gonna open it? And then I made a long ways, and I called it the water buffalo, but it wasn't practical. I got in the river with it, and you wear it sideways. I mean, it's just real long, like it'll shade your shoulders because it's so wide sideways. But if without a chin strap or something, I didn't think of the technical part of all that. It ain't gonna stay in your head. And I'll tell you, it ain't in the video, but what ended up happening to that watermelon is I just set it in the river and let it float down there like a boat. I was like, see you later, water buffalo watermelon helmet, because that didn't work so well. But you know, I as a trendsetter, as a pioneer in the watermelon helmet. Now, I didn't invent watermelon helmets. They've been going on for generations. But I'm really trying to hone them. I'm really trying to perfect them. And sometimes you just go for something so nobody else has to. And that's probably how the water buffalo helmet's going to go. It's going to be one of those that you look at and you say, well, I'm glad Tavin tried that, because that don't seem to work. And I'll tell you right now, I had it on my head and it really don't work that well. So that's that. But if you out and you inside and eating, I'm with you. You know, having some ice cold Dr. Pepper, you know, some cold peaches, watermelon. Don't just have fruit. I can tell you from experience. Meemaw can tell you from experience. If you just eat fruit, it's going to tear you up. It's going to be like what happens to Mort Dwight's guts when he gets a hold of too much dairy. We don't want to go there. So, you know, pace yourself. Do pace yourself, and enjoy it too. And, well, I'd say, if I may, I'd add some of Tavin's honey from Bees to that menu, Bee House Honey. You check them out at the link in the show notes. And I want to thank them. They've been on this whole journey, season 3 with me, and I appreciate it. That honey, by the way, ain't cooked like the store-bought stuff. It's strained, bottled, goes right to you, keeping the good stuff in it by not cooking it out. So I like that too. And I want to say, and we're going to have to wrap this up, y'all guys, but I want to say that I really, really, really appreciate you joining me here on the Tavin Dillard podcast. And hey, if you ain't hit a slip and slide with no water this week and stopped dead in your tracks, you having a pretty good week. Me, I'm Tavin Dillard. And you? Well, I'll see you later. Bink, bink.